Good evening. Good evening. Family. So we are here to welcome you all to Artists Unite 2019. Woo! And as is customary in indigenous traditions, certainly in mine, we do nothing without offering a blessing, without requesting the blessings of the Creator as well as our ancestors. And so it is fitting for us to engage in that, to request blessings over all that will happen on this weekend, over the performers, let me backtrack, over the artists, right? Because performing is something that anybody can do. But artistry is something that you're gifted with, that you're endowed with, that you are called to do. So we ask for blessings over that. And so what I'm going to invite us into is called a libation. A libation is an invocation. An invocation is a prayer. And it requests that we would connect the mundane, the everyday with the spiritual, the natural with the spiritual, and that we invite the presence of those that we deem fitting of endowing us with a blessing. We call forth their names, and after we call forth their names, we say Ashe, of which one meaning is so it is. And that we just sort of collect our energy together, and while we are few in number here, we are a million and a million plus in spirit, right? And so we know, for whatever reasons, I know that it is simply perfect timing that the perfect people are here in this space to open up, right? Not everybody can be a part of the opening this part. It is a divine opportunity to be here. So I began by ringing this bell because this bell, again, at least in the Yoruba tradition of Ifa, which is the religious tradition of the Yoruba people of Nigeria, and is an African-derived religion, religions that enslaved Africans and then emancipated Africans developed while they were here, mixing new religions and their ancient traditions. The bell calls on the ancestors, and it calls on the deity, and it invites them and lets them know, hey, we're here on the other side, we're trying to get your attention. And so when we ring the bell, we're saying we want to get your attention, and we know that we cannot engage in any endeavor like this without calling on them. Today is June 19th, and June 19th is what? Say it a little louder. June 19th is what? And Juneteenth is important because we know that on September 22nd, 1862, the then President Lincoln at least suggested or signed an order saying that enslaved people should become free. But it took until January 30th, 1863 before that actually happened in certain parts of the country, Texas being one of them. So on June 19th, 1863, there were enslaved people in Texas who find out that now they are free. But freedom really becomes relative, because even though somebody tells you you're free, you got to believe it in your mind, right, LB? And you got to believe it in your heart and in your soul. And if you've been on lockdown for so many years, it's not always possible for you to break out of that so quickly. So we acknowledge and we celebrate Juneteenth as our liberation, as our Emancipation Day here in the States, but not just here in the States, but what it means for African diaspora people to be liberated all across the world. And so Artists Unite comes together, bringing arts, inspiration, and innovation together, both performance and both academic, both spiritual, for us to acknowledge the presence and the fight and the spirit of people who worked hard to be free, right? And it unites us together from all parts, all corners of the earth, all races, all ethnicities, with the fact of knowing that the South African philosophical view, Ubuntu, means I am because you are. It means that if I ask you, how did you sleep last night, and you told me that you didn't sleep well, it means that I didn't sleep well. That's how connected community is, right? So Ubuntu is more than, we are one, we are the world. It is, I actually become you. And if there is any hardship that you are experiencing, if there is any joy that you are experiencing, as your community member, I too am experiencing it, right? So I have prepared this, I made this altar for us. And I want to explain what's on it before we ask for our blessing and then proceed to receive one another and continue talking and building and vibing as we were doing. I created this ancestral altar, which is an altar that is set up to acknowledge and honor one's ancestors. A quick word about ancestors. Ancestors are not just those people who transition from time to eternity. Particularly again in the Yoruba culture, ancestors are those who died a good death. So an ancestor is not one who violated you. An ancestor is not one who lived without integrity. An ancestor is not that. An ancestor is one who lived with integrity and who died a good death, right? And so we acknowledge our ancestors. And so on this table, I have representations and offerings for our ancestors that mean many things. I think it is fitting as we have LB the poet and Demi Day and Alfred Clemens and Blitz the ambassador coming to be with us over the course of these next 2 days. Blitz being from Ghana. This is some sand from the Elminia Castle, one of the slave castles in Ghana, in Cape Coast, Ghana. This is sand from the shores of that castle that I keep on my own altar. And this is some sand, some dirt from Accra. And this is some dirt from the Pittsburgh neighborhood in Atlanta, Georgia. If any of you are familiar with Pittsburgh neighborhood, if you're not familiar, I encourage you to just go ahead and Google that right quick and get you some history, because I don't have time to share that. So this dirt represents the first element of earth, that we are always in need of earth to ground us. And so every now and then I might just go and touch this earth to be reminded, right, of the legacy and to be reminded of the lineage. And then we also have Mr. Nigel, Miss Sarah, just some literary works here that represent the knowledge production of our folks. Some Asha Bandele and Dr. Daniel Black's The Coming, Asada, and of course Roots represents the literary tradition that we walk in, represents artistry, represents innovation. And then we have some fruit here. I brought pineapple because my grandmother loved butter pecan ice cream and pineapples. And so I brought this food and fruit offering for her to know that we are here and we have some of her favorite things. And on this side, this is a fertility statue. I'm just going to put it down. I'm good on that. on that kind of birth. But we are all, it is here representing though. It is here, amen. Yes, I say. It is here representing the rebirth though of Artists Unite. The birthing into something new. And then we have this text by Toni Morrison, Remember, that it is important for us to engage a Sankofa moment daily. Sankofa being the Ghanaian philosophical view, which means that there is no harm to go back and retrieve what was lost. So daily we need to be engaging and going back to get what was lost. And Artists Unite serves as a type of fetching, of retrieving memory that was lost. So it's important for us to remember. This is a picture of my great-grandmother, Mamie, who was from Tifton, Georgia. She was the youngest of 8. This is my great-grandmother, so she's the eldest person that I have on my altar. She'll be 112 in October. So we have Mamie's picture here. And then finally, some brown liquor. I mean, I don't know about your house. But my grandmother drank Old Granddad 180 proof. And this is her shot glass. This is my grandmother's shot glass. And she would ask you to get her a little shot, get her a little cup, put 2 cubes of ice in the cup, and then pour this shot over that ice and let it just little simmer down a little bit, and that's what she would drink. This is the actual libation though, that you pour, the actual alcohol part of the libation. We won't be pouring or drinking it today, but it is important to have that as an offering, on your table. You put the things that you know that they like, the things that you know that they love. And so I imagine also that when the enslaved men, women, siblings learned that they were free, that somewhere there was some brown something around or some moonshine around, and somebody took a celebratory swig of something in honor of what the journey that they were about to take. So now that we know what's on the table, we also have another piece of earth here that simply says dream. You know, this initiated with Tommy's dream of bringing people together when you did it some years back. A dream of what it would look like if we could all gather around the arts, if we could have conversation and really begin talking with one another and not talking at one another. It continues with Derek's dream of wanting to do something similar, and then these two dreams unite, and then the dream of OMG unites with all that it brings, and then LB, and then later on in the month, next month, we'll have the Black Theater Festival. But we all have a dream, and really, if the truth be told out here, I think that dream, I might rephrase it not as a dream, but more than to say it's a purpose. Malidoma Somé says that our purpose is embodied in our name. That the name that you are given, the name that you have, has purpose, and that in order for you to live out that purpose, you have to understand what your name is. And I think oftentimes some of us forget to dream, or we become disconnected with the dream because we can't remember our purpose because we don't know what our name is. And so what Artists Unite does, it reminds us of what our name is. And then finally, we have light. I didn't want to light it because I don't know what the fire code is in here, but we have light, that we would light the candle, and a white candle particularly, that lights the way. I have water here that I'm going to pour into this bowl to pour the libation, and I have sage, which cleanses the space. I'm going to pour this water into this bowl as I make the offering. I'm going to ask, I should have started with this, but I'm going to ask permission from the eldest people in the room if I may have your permission to move forward, and I'm not going to look in any direction. Just somebody say yes. Yes. I So to the ultimate supreme being that is known by many names and many languages and many traditions, we acknowledge you, and we pour this libation, and we invoke the presence of all that is good, all that is innovative, all that is creative. We invoke this presence and ask that you would bless the work of the hands of those who have worked hard, that you would allow this project to bear good fruit. And we ask and give thanks for the blessing in advance to the ultimate supreme being known as Olodumare, Ashe, known as Chukwu, the Great Spirit, Ashe,
Ashe,
known as Olorun, the owner of heaven, Ashe,
Ashe,
known as Nzambi Mpungu, nothing is greater than, Ashe,
Ashe,
and known by many other names. To those the characteristics that represent the characteristics of the ultimate supreme being, those characteristics that are represented for those in indigenous spiritual traditions as Orisha, those represented in Catholicism as saints, those represented in Black denominational iterations as the sanctified. We acknowledge and give thanks for them, for those that come forth in the presence of sweetness like Oshun, Ashe, in the presence of birth-giving, life-giving like Emenya, Ashe, in the presence of thunder like Shango at times, Ashe, that come forth in the character of bearing iron like Ogun, Ashe, that come forth standing at the crossroads, similar characteristics of Jesus and Legba, Ashe. For those who bear goodness and those who bear mercy, we give you thanks, we acknowledge and ask for your blessings, Ashe. And finally, this is the part where we can all participate in, and that is pouring the libation and invoking and welcoming the presence of those who were innovative, those artists that were creative geniuses, those artists that didn't have a venue, that had to hide to do their artistry, that had to do their artistry under the cover of darkness, for whom death was imminent if someone found out that they could do what it was they were able to do. We invite you now to just call forth some names of folk that you know who are no longer present but have crossed over from time to eternity, who showed up in ways that you think for whom it is appropriate to call their names. You can call them all out at once.
James
right now.
Baldwin.
Ashe.
Maya Angelou.
Ashe.
Larry Leon Hamlin.
Ashe.
Tupac Shakur.
Ashe.
Nipsey,
Ashe.
Hussle, Nipsey Hussle.
Ashe. Dick Gregory.
Ashe.
Papa.
Ashe.
Red Fox. Marvin Gaye.
Pop. Say Papa.
Jimi Hendrix.
Papa. Let me say it together. Let me say Papa together. Let me say Papa together.
So we pour this last for those who are yet to come, those who are on their way, who are traveling from the other side of time here. And we pour this with making the commitment that we will clear the way, that we will pave the way, that when they come, that there will be some things that are already in place for them, that we will work until it is our time to go to the other side to make sure that they have what they need in order to receive the blessing and in order to fulfill the sacred call, the sacred agreement that they made on the other side. So we pour this for those who are yet to come, for the unborn.
Yes.
So may we be welcome, and may we know that the work that we do is sacred. May we know that we each have a hand in this work. May we not be concerned with numbers, even though that's important. But may we not be concerned with numbers. May we be concerned more with purpose. May we be concerned with the energy that's in the place, for everything has a divine purpose. Everything has a divine reason. Everything has a divine purpose and reason, and who's present will be present. And it is something that we cannot control. So we give thanks for what will be, and we give thanks that we will be, and we give thanks for the experience that we will receive, for the energy that will take place, for the birthing of what is new, for the birthing of what was, for the birthing of what will come. We give thanks. And we also send blessings likewise to OMG as they also move into their opening weekend this weekend for the same energy. Let this energy travel right on to Saturday and to Sunday. This same creative, this same innovative presence, this same spirit, this same beauty, may it just travel right on up to OMG, so the same energy will go and be forth. To all of the ancestors that were named, and to those names that we will never know, to those who walked off plantations hundreds of years ago, to those who stayed because they weren't sure what lied ahead, we acknowledge and we honor. We humbly request your blessings. And together we say, Ashe, 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 Ashe. The Artists Unite Festival 2019 is hereby open. And we begin with the first thing, which is a proclamation from the city of Winston-Salem that says, whereas Artists Unite 2019 assembles international, regional, and local artists to collaborate and explore the arts in radically different ways, and whereas June 20th through 21st, Artists Unite will facilitate honest conversations commemorating the contributions of artists of color in our community and throughout the world in our lives, and whereas Artists Unite provides a platform for artists to engage with our community members who will experience the arts through the lens of academic, cultural criticism, complex theory, I think that's what I should say, complex theory, it could say complexity, that's the professor me, complexity theory, and the belief that the artist is instrumental in creating a more equitable society, and whereas Artists Unite challenges our community members and organizations to question the underlying assumptions that drive prejudice, consider new approaches to eradicating inequity, and engage in activism to achieve equity and abundance for all people within our community. Whereas our 2019 international artist, Samuel Blitz the Ambassador Bazawule, is a musician, filmmaker, writer, and composer, founder of Africa Film Society, a senior TED Fellow, recipient of the Vilsec Prize. His critically acclaimed film, The Burial of Kojo, screens at our event with an engaging musical performance. And whereas Blitz joins community members Dr. Melva Sampson, Dr. Kimya Dennis, Alfred Clemens, Demi Day, LB the Poet, to showcase film, music, spoken word, and critical perspective together. will uncover how the arts play a massive role in community building. Now, therefore, I, J. Allen Jones, Mayor of the City of Winston-Salem, North Carolina, do hereby proclaim June 20th through the 21st, 2019 as Artists Unite Days.
Yes.
Given under my hand and the seal this 20th day of June 2019, J. Allen Jones. Ashe. And it is so. So we look forward to seeing you all this weekend over the course of the day, to being in conversation with you. Please continue to converse, to have some wine, to listen to the music. Anything the conveners want to
Yeah,
say?
I actually have one thing to say,
Yes, please.
other than thank you
Yes, yes,
for your
yes.
support. An attitude of gratitude is what we all should walk away with. Because art is a gift. Our featured artspreneur
Yes.
is Kendra Bell with Dream Tree.
Yes.
So the arts typically are looked at, theater, music, visual art, and so on. But food is an art. And this lady has passion for what she's doing. And I'm offering her the opportunity to speak to that, of the why. Why this art? Why this creation? So it's yours.
Well, it's
Speak.
mine. I love ice cream. I mean, that's just.
I have to come around a little bit. The old people can't hear us.
Come around?
Yeah, you gotta come on around so you can be in the spotlight.
All right, I'm coming. I'm
Yourself
coming.
back there.
All right. So, yeah, I love ice cream and I love to create. I am an artist by nature. I do hair and makeup. And I do a little bit of painting and a little bit of poetry. So I'm just an artist, a creator by nature. So ice cream is something that I've always loved, and it's something that I can express myself through. I like to combine flavors that are orthodox, things that you wouldn't ordinarily put together, things that make you wonder, what does that taste like? Because everybody knows what butter pecan tastes like. Everybody knows what vanilla tastes like. But nobody knows what butter pecan, blueberry butter pecan tastes like. Nobody knows what strawberry ginger tastes like. So I like to create things that will keep you guessing. That's the passion. Seeing the reactions when people actually taste the ice cream, because it's never what you expect. But somehow you get it when you taste it. So that's my passion, and that's the why.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
4 years ago? Was it 4? I think it was in this. It was 4 years ago.
All right, 4 years.
4 years ago, I see these two amazing humans come in for a poetry event. My wife has never been the same since. I've watched.
It's all right, baby.
Go ahead and let it out. Go ahead and let it out. Yeah.
I've watched this young man grow faster than anyone I've ever met. He does not know the meaning of the word no.
Good. That's
If
good.
he sees the door shut, he's going to get through it. He may go under it or around it, but he is going to get through it. You know different. You the same.
Yes, yes.
You do not quit. You raise beautiful families. You teach them to love people. You teach them that art is life. As you're being blessed with your second child together, I can only wish that they just get 1% passion and love that you guys showed it to me. You were talking about your faith traditions. Oh, white dude. I'm sure you recognize it. I was raised Pentecostal Holiness Church, the Southern Baptist Church, the Church of God, the Presbyterian Church. It's just all a little bit confusing to me.
Me too.
When I was in my 20s, I had an opportunity to go house sit on a little small island in the Bahamas called Harbor Island, or as the indigenous folks called it, Bryland. Bryland, man, you know, is home of the friendly people. And that's where I met my spiritual brother. He was a Rastafarian elder. And I spent 6 weeks learning from this man. His trade was groundskeeper, landscaper, grower of things. One of the grounds that he kept was for a grand dragon of the KKK. It's like, man, how can you do that? It's like, because he's human.
Right.
Because he's just a man. And they talked and they shared together. And I'm sure that the Grand Dragon would come back to the States and be as evil as he could possibly be. But for that one moment, he was on that small little island surrounded by water. The storms crashing over the head. They shared humanity together. That one thing taught me more than being in any church. So my church became out there, amongst people, amongst all people, and trying to get them together. Artists Unite the first time was a 28-day blitz from thought to 3,200 people filling this space. Theater upstairs, the theater over there. We had over 16 different art forms, over 30 different artists, multiple organizations. They all chipped in. It was a free event. It was also on Inauguration Day. My purpose was to offer an opportunity for people to celebrate peace and diversity on a rather ignominious day. I didn't support what was happening in D.C. until 2 days later, and the march happened. Where most of my co-conspirators were up there. I was blown away when people kept filing into the space. I've had a little bit of anxiety around this one. It's a different endeavor. We've narrowed our focus. We've focused on artists of color and their contributions, given the dates that we are around. We're around Juneteenth. We're also around the 400-year anniversary of the first Africans being brought here against their will to Jamestown. Purpose was to be able to show the contributions despite the shadows. And I think we've assembled some fantastic artists
Yep. We have.
that we should emulate, because they're not just artists. They're also fathers and mothers and brothers and sisters. Also, they create out of a space that only the artist can truly understand. But they can also offer it to people so that they can begin to understand, to begin the journey. The artist path is not easy. I've never seen an artist that said, oh yeah, this is not a problem. It's either therapy or called to it. You are one tenacious and Y'all can insert a key word.
You can let it out. They've heard it before.
Everyone's a tenacious motherfucker, Doc.
Thank you.
You get it done, son. And I've heard that from a couple of folks. But I've now witnessed it. So as you say, all things are divinely inspired, I'm with you there. Because I believe that our coming together was one of those moments that was touched. And I love you for that.
Amen.
Last thing I'm going to say, and then I'm going to ask you to do something. That's what you do. But the last thing I'm going to say, the opening of the last Artist Unite was done by the Healing Force. Mama Gail Anderson, Papa Joe Anderson, their son Kareem, and their daughter Sonja. They were upstairs. They had their drums. And they led about 300 people that had shown up at the very beginning in Fongalapia. And they told the stories that went with that. And give people opportunity to drum. Baba Joe showed up here today. Out of the blue. Didn't even know this thing was going on. I'd been reaching out to Kareem for weeks, and he was just like, man, I'm busy. He just got up. Creator brought him here.
Yeah, run out of the blue.
And he said what Mama Gail always said, peace and blessings. Peace and blessings. Mama Gail passed 1 month after the event, 2017, performing. I dedicate this event to her spirit. Because I miss that woman every day. Because she was heart. She was the closest thing to my own mama who did not get to see the first event. And she won't get to see this one in person. But I can only hope that she watches. A shame.
LB, real quick, if I could say something before you start. Thank you, Tommy. I just wanted to share. Upon coming to Winston, family moved here from Atlanta. I made the decision after getting my daughter settled, my wife, let me slowly start getting out into the community, see what's happening. My first meeting was at Coffee Park, the trailer on Renolda. After my meeting, I was continuing to do some work inside the coffee shop. Tommy was having a meeting. I finished my meeting, and I was just really down there, just kind of still hanging. And he and I began to talk, and we talked for probably over 3 hours. And we talked about a festival. We talked about bringing folks together.